2, 1.
International superstar, Miss Butter B. Rocker.
You are now tuned in to Butter B. Rocker on Transparency Talks Podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. I am your girl, Butter B. Rocker, the hostess with the mostest. Listen, we have an amazing show for you today. But before I bring on my special guest, my event, BBR Indie Films in Marietta, Georgia at Studio Movie Grill, we are almost completely sold out. We're down to I think 15 tickets. So if you're going to come, you better get them tickets right now. You can go to bbrmediagroup.com. Once again, that's bbrmediagroup.com. Also, special thank you to everybody that has been supporting my film, Finding the Perfect Guy, that I executive produced, wrote, directed, and starred in. It is now streaming on 22 platforms. So you know your girl's hype, and it's only been 6 months. So without further ado, y'all did not come to speak to me. You came to hear this man. He is a comedian, an actor. He has been on hit TV shows and films such as Power, The Punisher, The Good Wife, Gotham, The Last OG. Can you show some love to Avery Mason? Hello, how are you?
What's up? Hi, Butter B. I just want to point out that when I put my name, it asks for my credit. So I just want everybody to see what I'm all about. See, you got executive producer and all that stuff, but can you see what mine says?
Let me see. I can see. What does that say? Let me make it bigger.
I love gravy. I love gravy. Yeah. Avery Mason, I love gravy. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. So you already starting out with the comedic side of you.
This is how I was raised, man. This is me from the beginning. I was a comedian before I was an actor, so it's just my side of life, man. Real quick, I know this is your platform, and I just want to say real quick, congratulations on your success. That is amazing. But I just want to tell you, you have more jobs than a West Indian right now. Are you West Indian? Are you?
You know, I think I am. I'm just playing.
Yeah, right. She's like, I'm a director, writer, producer. I said, Jesus Christ, you got a lot of jobs, girl. I love it. That's great. Congratulations, on all services. Congratulations. That's an amazing.
Thank you. Now you know what that really stands for. It stands for not being able to hire the right people. So you saying I'm gonna do it myself. That's what that was. That's
yeah. Sometimes you got to do it yourself. DIY.
Yeah, especially that first time, people get you with them prices, and you be like, okay, yeah. Boy. So let me go to YouTube University and figure this out.
Get this iPhone set up. Get the Pixel on a tripod.
Right. So what I like to do is I like to go back. Can you tell everybody a little bit of background about yourself?
All right, cool. Well, my name is Avery Mason. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm the humble son, one of three. I'm the only boy, and I'm also a twin. I got a twin sister. I'm the humble son of Caribbean parents. My mom is from Trinidad. My dad's from Grenada, and they immigrated to Brooklyn. Lived there my whole life. Been a blue-collar family. Except for me. I went to how far back do I go? I'll tell you what, I'll start from college. I went to University of Albany. I got my liberal arts degree, and I pretty much started working. I was DJing, and then when I graduated, I tried to get on the radio in Albany, and I was big. I thought I was going to be the next Funkmaster Flex. And for those of your listeners who aren't familiar, because Funkmaster Flex is like a big time DJ here. He's like the big boy of the East Coast. If you know who Big Boy is on the West Coast, Funk Flex, Big Dog Pitbulls, that guy. So I thought I was going to be him, next DJ Cool, and it just did not work out that way. I started working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. That's not a promotional plug for them. I worked for them for like 7 years, and then it got to the point where I wasn't getting anything out of it for myself. Like I had put on about 50 pounds extra weight. I was miserable. I was stressed. and I wasn't thriving. So I ended up leaving that job and kind of taking my savings and going out on my own. I started doing comedy, and probably 2 years after that, that's when I started acting, and here I am today. Is that? I hope that wasn't too long. I try to cut out the boring stuff. Just
No, 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 that was good. Okay. So going from enterprise to, you know what, I'm gonna be a comedian. That's a
right.
big bit. So, what initially drew you to the world of comedy, and how did you find your voice as a stand-up comedian?
All right. So before I started working professionally, I had mentioned that I was DJing. What happened was the guy I DJed with, shout out to DJ Six Figures, he did not like talking on a microphone. So he was like, "Hey man, I don't want to talk in front of all these people. Do you mind doing it?" And I don't have problems speaking to crowds, so I started doing it. And then when you do weddings and stuff, sometimes parties, you got to talk, you got to be entertaining, you have to be funny. So I would tell jokes sometimes. I would mess with the crowd. I play games, and that's kind of how it started. And then also, when I was doing my radio show in college, I would do skits on the air and stuff, and it was fun, and it always made me laugh. And for my whole life, I'd always been, like I said, the kind of joker of the family. So it was just a natural fit for me. It was a natural fit, and that's kind of what led me to get to the stand up. I'm much happier, honestly.
Okay. All right. So walk me through, you decided I want to be a comedian, and then you said, I'm going to go to these places and I'm going to take my shot. Walk me through
Yeah.
how that works.
All right. So I didn't know how to get into it. I kind of had a rough idea, but I wasn't sure. So I'll start from the day I quit my job, March 27th, 2013. Um, I had already written a letter 2 weeks prior, and I came in there and I gave it to my boss, and I was like, it's my 2 week notice. See, I'm a professional. I gave him 2 weeks. I just walk out because I was going to just walk out because I hated them, but my mom was like, "Yeah, maybe you just, you never know. You don't want to, you don't want to slam a door shut. You maybe just want to gently close it and put the chain lock on." So I gave him a 2 weeks notice, and I kind of roasted him a little bit when I was leaving. You know, he had a little bit of a stutter, and the only words he used to be able to get out were cuss words. So I gave him his same energy that he would give me. Let's just put it like that. He didn't like it. Anyway, so I leave the job, and I'm like, man, I want to do comedy. I don't know where to start. So I look up a few things, and I decide to go to Caroline's comedy. Caroline's on Broadway is a big comedy club that is now closed, but at the time you could go there, pay a couple $100, and you go to a comedy school. It was taught by a lady named Linda. I can't remember her last name, but Linda was a teacher, and she basically walked you through the steps of creating your first 5 minute set, and that's kind of where it started. I went to the comedy school for like, I want to say it was a month, and then I started doing open mics after that and going to different shows to try to get stage time. And that's pretty much that's how you got to do it. That's how you got get better.
I like that. It's kind of the same way as it is for singers. You got to start going
Yeah.
to the open mics to really hone in on your craft and everything. But I never knew, the process for a comedian. So that's pretty cool
Well,
to
not everybody's the same. Like some people are different. If I would have known now back then, I probably wouldn't have done the comedy school. I appreciated the experience it gave me, but honestly, it was money that I didn't have. But I just invested because I believed in myself. But for
Mhm.
those of you listening, you don't have to go to a comedy school. As a matter of fact, I would say, I mean, comedy school will give you a leg up in terms of crafting your set, but just kind of getting out there and going to open mics and meeting people is probably a better way to go about doing it, and going to shows and asking for stage time. That's the only way you're gonna learn. You're not gonna learn comedy by sitting in a classroom. I'll tell you that right now. You're not gonna get better.
Wow. So in your early days, what were some of the challenges you faced in the comedy circuit?
Honestly, it was finding my voice. I think that is the hardest thing to do as a stand-up is to find your voice, figure out who you are. Because at first, when I started, I was just doing what I saw on TV at the time was Def Comedy Jam. I was trying to be like Bernie Mac. I was trying to be like Dave Chappelle. I was trying to be like Chris Tucker. And I mean, some of the jokes I had were they were okay and people laughed, but you know, I, there were times where I think, especially our people, because I was doing a lot of what people call the hood rooms. I don't consider it a hood room. I'm just giving you a context of where I was. A lot of black rooms, as they would say. I wasn't doing a lot of the mainstreams at the time, and my people, y'all, we could tell. Like if somebody's not being real or legit, you could tell. You'd be like, I mean, yeah, he funny, but hmm, something ain't right. Why he sound like that? He don't sound like, And people always would tell me after the shows, like, yo, it's cool you was alright, but man, is that really what you think? Is that really how you sounded? People can tell, and after a while, you just kind of, me personally, I just kind of figured out that nobody cared that I wasn't the most hood person. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm not really hood. I mean, I look dangerous, but I'm a teddy bear, like pit bulls. A little dangerous, but you scratch them on the belly, and that's kind of like me. You scratch me on the belly, I go to sleep. I'm not dangerous. So once I embraced who I was and like where I came from, it made my material a lot better.
Hmm. What do you
Yeah.
where do you draw from your inspiration for comedy?
Oh, everything, everything, everything. Life, everything about life is funny. I mean, obviously, we're living in a time now where people are sensitive, but I found that if you kind of stick to you as a core, like people can't really mess with. Like my jokes, I mostly talk about my life, my family, my experiences, my thoughts, things that make me laugh. I just look at it from that perspective, and I've never had any issues. I mean, some once in a while you get people who are like, "What you mean by that?" Hey, but you know, we live in a time where everybody thinks they're the main character. Everybody wants to be the main. Like, yo, sit down, shut up. I didn't pay to see you. You paid to see me, so you're not the main character right now. You're just an NPC, just walking in the background. You're not even
Yeah.
supposed to have any lines. You don't have any lines in this scene. Shh, like one, it's like that.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because that was one of my questions. Because back in the day, a joke was a joke. Comedians get up there, everybody got roasted, everybody, right? But now people are more sensitive, and I feel like comedians are definitely getting filtered a whole lot more. Like they don't come hardcore anymore, and to me, it used to be everybody got it. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter
Mhm.
your cause. Anybody could get it. But now it feels like it's kind of off limit. Do you think that?
I don't think there's any topic off limits. Me personally, there's some things that I'm not comfortable like discussing, but there's some comedians who really have a talent for looking at the difficult things in life and really making it funny. Like I think Dave Chappelle is really good at that.
Mhm.
I think Chris Rock is really good at that. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but it's tough. But I don't believe there's any boundaries in comedy. I think you should be able to make fun of almost everything. There's some things that I wouldn't touch. Like recently, we had a good friend of mine. He got in trouble for making fun of the George Floyd thing, and I don't think it was so much him making fun of it. Uh, he didn't have a direction he was going in. He was just it was kind of like it was crowd working, but it wasn't really that's not really his material. So he just kind of brought it up and it didn't go so well. People walked out, which people were upset, and he ended up apologizing for it. But it's as he got in trouble for it. But I still think if you approach it from a, a specific perspective and you have a point in what you're talking about and it going somewhere,
Mhm.
then I think you probably be okay on stage as long as it's funny. If it ain't funny, boom, then you get what's coming to you. It's comedy's like playing poker. It's a risk. Everything is risky. And
But
you got to gamble sometimes.
I would imagine that because typically, don't comedians run their lines through somebody to see how somebody gauges it? No, they still
That
just go for it.
on stage, but on stage, that's you running it like that's the only way to practice. Because if I was to sit down with you and tell you my set, and I'm just like, hey, do you think this is funny? It just be weird because we're not in the setting. We're sitting down, we're talking. If I would start doing comedy now, it'd be weird because it'd be like this isn't the proper setting. So the only place to really do it would be on stage.
Oh wow.
That's it. That's the risk of comedy. I mean, you could sing. Like, it's different. If I was a singer, I could sing for you right now, and you don't need like a stage, or you just be listening to me singing. But comedy requires an audience, it requires a setting, it requires a stage, it requires the environment. And that's what
Yeah.
people got to remember. When people talk about being offended by things, and like, look, everybody does not have the same perspective. Everybody got different perspectives. And when you're in an environment, they say, look, this is a comedy club. People going to be telling jokes. This is not a political environment. This is not, CNN. These people on stage are trying to make you laugh at life. They point at things and they want to make you laugh, and
Yeah.
and that's what it's about. And that's the
Yeah.
only place you can do it on stage. You can't. It just doesn't work. If we're sitting in a car and start telling you a joke, it's just like you're like, can you turn off the radio? I want to hear Hot 91. I don't want to hear jokes.
Right.
Thank you. It's just like, it doesn't work like that.
Gotcha. Well, what ultimately led to you pursuing acting alongside being a comedian?
Well, as I told you, I wasn't making. I was doing decent money in my job, but I just wasn't happy. I was
Yeah.
miserable. Looked at the people who were my management above me, and all of them looked miserable. So that pushed me out of that job. And comedy, I was like, I want to do this. I enjoy it. I love making people laugh. I love entertaining, and it was cathartic for me, man, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life at that point. And once I started doing comedy, telling jokes, it just felt natural. It felt right. So in the beginning, when you're doing stand-up comedy, for those you don't know, you don't make any money. I don't know if people thought I started doing open mics and went straight from there to Caroline's. It didn't work like that. Okay. I live in New York. It's a very expensive place. You have to have a job, and I was trying to find a job that would allow me to make some money while still pursuing my passion. And I had a friend of mine. Shout out to Jessica Stern. She's a comedian in Tampa. She told me, hey, why don't you try background acting? Now we'll put a pin in that real quick and flashback. My uncle was also an actor. His name is Sullivan Walker, and he's a much bigger like actor than I was or I am right now. 'Cause he did all this stuff that I only dream of doing. Um, when I was 19, he tried to get me into acting, and I said to him, "Yeah, it's not really for me. I don't really see myself as an actor. I don't. Would you want me to pretend? Like, nah, this is me. I ain't gonna be nobody else but me. I can't be nobody else but me. I don't want to be nobody else. This is me. I ain't doing it. No, I'm out." He tried, but I just wasn't with it. Fast forward to now. So my friend is like, "Hey, you should try background acting. You know, you get $100 and you get free lunch." And I was like, "All right, I'll do it for the lunch. Money, $100 really ain't. And that's pretty much where it started. And as soon as I got on set, I saw what my uncle was trying to get me into and what he loved about acting. It's a great world. You get the lights, all the cameras, all the people. It's like a beehive of people just doing things. And I just was so I was so taken with, like, I would ask people, "What do you do? What's your job? Or what does that do? What does that?" And I'd just be watching everything, and then it stopped being work and it started becoming fun, and then I couldn't get enough. I wanted to be on set all the time. I wanted to be background all the time and be there and watching people. It was great. I loved it from day one. I loved it.
I just had Javon Johnson from the Oval on my show, and he
Mhm.
talked about his very first thing was backgrounds as well, and how people
Yeah.
shouldn't sleep on backgrounds. I think the same thing. I mean, some people don't want to go that route. I don't want to be a background. I don't. Okay, but you can learn so much from being the background. Okay,
Absolutely.
so you started
Absolutely.
as a background, and then how did you get your first break?
Okay. So just to your point of like people kind of dumping on background, um, I knew nothing about film and stuff. So if you're watching this and you know nothing about film and TV and you want to get into acting, the background is basically your open mic. That's where you learn the terms, on-set terms they use. You learn about all the different jobs and how to conduct yourself on set. You don't want to just hop in on something you ain't never been on stage. You don't know. You're not supposed to look at the camera. You don't know, like, what they're capturing your footage or your shot, and you don't want to step. I mean, all these things, these little nuanced things you learn by doing background. So
Right.
it's a fantastic place to start. So when I started doing background, um, I set a goal for myself because I got on a couple of shows doing background, and I said to myself, man, I want to try to do background on all the shows that are filming in New York City. And I went around and I was doing all the shows, and there was one show that I wanted to get on. I couldn't get background on. I don't know why. Couldn't get on. It was Power. So I'm talking. I did background on Law and Order. I did background on Luke Cage. I did background on Daredevil. I mean, all these shows, some movies too. If you have a sharp eye, you can catch me in a couple. But I just, I could not get on Power. Background, couldn't get it. And I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. So, um, a casting notice comes in through Central Casting, and it was looking for a featured person to be on Power. It just said featured person, uh, to be like valet or something. They were looking for someone who was like over 6 feet. So I'm 6'4", so I was like, ah, perfect. I'm gonna put in for this, and I forgot all about it. And then I got a call. Hey, you got the part. So cool. I get on set. I'm the only background person there, and that is a great way to start because like it was just me and all the main characters at the time, and I was the only background person. I had a very featured scene. I was in the frame by myself. It was great. And first scene with Omari Hardwick, J.R. Ramirez, and it was great. And I was so happy. I was like, oh, I finally did my goal, and I forgot all about it. Right? They called me back to come do background again, to do some more episodes for the rest of season 2, which was if you go back, if you viewer of the show, if you love Power, go back and watch season 2. That was me. I had no lines. I was just a face, and I think I did like 4 episodes background that season, and I was like happy. And then I got a call between season 2 and season 3. They were like, "Hey, the producers of the show kind of liked you. They have a part that might be cool for you. Would you be interested in auditioning for it?" I said, What do you mean? What you mean? Would I? Yo, just send the line. Why we even on the phone right now? Just let me come today. You don't even have to. Don't mail it. I'll walk. I'll come down there, and we can do this in the street. I don't even need a sound stage or nothing. But yeah, they sent me the lines. I went and auditioned, and the part that I ended up auditioning for was for BG. So a lot of people think it stands for big guy or whatever. It stands for BG, stands for Black Grimace. It was Black Grimace, Black Grim. Did not come up with it. You'd have to ask the writers of the episode, Raphael and Damone, where they got that from. But it was the episode they wrote, and I'm very appreciative of it. And that's the part that became Black Grimace, and everything else that came with it.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah. And
That's
it doesn't happen like that. It don't happen like that. I want to tell y'all, it's a lot of preparation because in between doing the background stuff, I was taking acting classes and studying the craft at the time. But acting it requires preparation, but also requires a lot of luck. And it was in my mind, it was preparation, but it was a lot of luck involved in it. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Okay. Black Grimace comes out on Power. So now, how does that experience impact your career and public recognition?
Wow. Well, it took me a while for me to be comfortable getting recognized because, I come from Brooklyn. The neighborhood I grew up in wasn't very safe at the time, and you don't walk around. I know you're from Atlanta. Down there, it's the land of friendly. Hi, hello, how you doing? I'm from Brooklyn, where it's the land of. Who you looking at? You got a problem? Do I know you? What you saying hi for? I don't know you. So it's like people would see me and I would immediately like kind of be defensive because wasn't used to that kind of attention. People would say, "Yo, what up, big man? Yo, that's you?" Me what? What do you? Me what? It was one of those type of things. And then it took me honestly. It sounds crazy. It took me like 2 years to get comfortable with people like coming up to me and just like being friendly, and I just had to get out of my head about it. I did. It's gonna sound crazy, but I did do some therapy behind it. And I remember my therapist was like, people are just happy to see you. Why can't you let them be happy to see you? It's okay if they see you and they just wanna say hi. Hey, I liked your work. And I
Right.
began to realize that was okay. I looked at it the same way I did when I was entertaining people in terms of people would come up to me and be happy. Like this one guy, I never forget. He was on the phone with his mom. He said to me, "Yo, I had a really bad day," but he's like, "Yo, I'm seeing you. You mad cool." He's like, "You made my day." You know what I'm saying? And I just kind of looked at it like that. Like this person might be having a really bad day, and they meet me and somebody who they seen on TV. It makes them. They'll have a story to talk about for like mad long. And then if I ever do a movie like yo, I met him in the street, bro. He was mad cool. Yeah, I'm glad to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you never know the ripple effect of what you're doing. So now I'm okay with it now. People see me, I say, hey, what's up all the time. Yo, that's you. Yo, that's me. Yo, yeah.
That's dope. How do you develop your characters and bring them to life?
Part of the characters comes from me. It starts from me first. You know, you get whatever characters you get the breakdown, and then you study what the character is and who they are, and then you try to see where you could put parts of yourself in that character to make the character a little more authentic. So we'll take Black Grimace for example. Okay, um, they the producers of the show and the writers, they never told me how to be. Okay, what I mean by that is I never really got a breakdown of the character of Black Grimace.
Mm-hmm.
They just said we have a part might be good for you. Audition for it. They never told me how to be. They never told me to be like. Are you familiar with Power? If you watch the episode, you see how everybody's like aggressive, and they never told me to be like that. They just left it up to me to make the character is. So I really had to sit down and think. All right, how can I make? I watch. You know, full disclosure, I didn't watch Power till I got on it because I was just a starving artist. I really didn't have the money for premium cable. And the Nigerians, they weren't selling Power. They was, they were selling. You buy the CD, it'd be some other show on there. You know what I mean? So they sound bootlegs, but it just wasn't the show. So I had to really sit down and think about watch like an episode and figure out how can I make myself stand out from everybody else on the show. And I said, all right, everybody on the show was thug. Everybody on the show was gangster. What if this character was like halfway gangster? And meaning that, he was from the hood, he was street, but like he could also be cool to hang out with. Like he's not a killer. You know what I mean? He's like Tupac. I'm not a killer, but don't push me. So I started from there and I just kind of built it up. I put a little bit of myself and then I put a little bit of like the New York City, Brooklyn toughness, and that's how I got the character of Black Grimace. And it ended up working out really well because people really grabbed it. Oh man, I loved your character, man. See, you was hard, but you was loyal, but you was cool. Like you not a killer like everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, and that was what I was going for.
Mm-hmm. So you did an in-person audition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Do you do any of the self-taping?
Recently, recently now because of COVID, everything is a self-tape. But for that part, no, that was an in-person audition. Actually, I haven't had an in-person audition in a long time. Everything has been, because the new COVID rules are just the new business model. Let's say at this point, everything has been a self-tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of self-tape, do you like doing self-tapes or do you prefer in person?
Man. You see, both have their pros and cons, right? Like you do a self-tape at home, you have an opportunity to kind of like there's no pressure. You set up your own lighting how you like it. You can take your time, but the negative of self-tape at home is that you don't exactly know what the casting person or the producers are looking for. When you would go in person, you'd be there, you know your lines. If they didn't like something, they would give you your feedback right in the moment. Hey, I like the choice you made there, but maybe try this and let's run it again. And you get that instant feedback. With the self tapes, unfortunately, you don't. Either they like what you did with it, or they don't. They move on to the next video. So I kind of like it because for me, it's convenient. Like I don't have to drop everything and go into Manhattan or go to this place to to do it. It's just I can do it at my leisure. So there are pros and cons, but honestly, I kind of like the self tape at home a little better.
I think I'm like 50-50 with it. I like being able to be in the midst of it all,
Yeah.
And you're right, they do give you more of a breakdown and stuff. Online, you kind of don't know. So I like that.
That's the tough part, but I think we're here permanently, man. I don't think we're ever going back to in-person auditions, honestly.
In person here in Atlanta, they're starting to do more in person.
Oh yeah? Yeah, you guys are blowing up down there, man. I like Atlanta. I gotta look at it. You blowing up. Look at the studio you're in. You're in a studio. You got everything all nice, well lit, and I'm here in my son's bedroom like I'm a hostage or something. I'm in Guantanamo Bay prison.
How do you balance the demands of your career and your personal life?
Man, it's tough because I don't want to say I'm a workaholic, but there are people counting on me and relying on me.
Mhm.
And I do put a lot of pressure on myself to, because I'm not working a full time job. So the career that I've chosen, I have to go at it. So it's tough because you want to make sure you're there to watch your kids grow up. You want to be there for those things, but you can't be there for all things because you have to
Mhm.
work. So when you're working, you're working. You make time for work, but when you're not working, you got to make sure you're present. And I
Mhm.
think that's the best advice that I can give for anybody who's looking to become an actor or just like, how do I see my family? When you're working, you're working. I remember I had an audition. They did a reboot for Magnum PI, and I got an audition for one of the series regulars. It was to play this guy named TC, and I was like, cool, I'll do it. And if I would have gotten the part, I would have had to go to Hawaii for like 3 months,
Mm.
which I was excited for the opportunity, and then at the same time, I was like, damn, like Hawaii by myself, like but it's part of the job. It's the job. I understand. Like, I don't want to be away from my family, but like, if this is making a better life for them, then it's what I would do. So that's my advice. Like, make sure when you're with your family, you're present. You're not like on your phone. You're not like watching TV. Just be there, whatever it is. Just be there, and that's I think for me that's the best way that I balance it.
That's some real sound advice. I used to tour heavy overseas singing because I started off as a international recording artist,
Hmm.
and when my kids were younger, I would get these calls to be gone for like a year or 6 months, and I'm
Oof.
like, I can't. I mean, it's so hard to do. The longest I would go out would be 3 months, then come back and go back out and everything. But trying to balance it all, I mean, it really was tough. But you're right,
Yeah.
be present when you are there. So that's
Yeah.
some really good advice.
Yeah, it came, Omar Hardwick, the guy who played Ghost, he has kids himself. And I remember we were talking about it on set. And I said, man, I love doing this. I love doing this. And now, I remember maybe it was season 6 and it was around Halloween. And I said, hey, man, we wrapping up, man. What are you about to do? You about to go to the club? You about to go do this? He was like, oh, no, man, I'm going to take my kids trick or treating. I was like, you take your kids trick or treating? He was like, and he was so excited to do it because he was like, yeah, man, I'm trying to get off the set early because, you know, we don't get to do this. So, he lived in a building and they would just take the kids around from apartment to apartment. But he was looking forward to that so much. He was like, man, I don't get many opportunities like this because I'm away from them a lot. So he's missing
Mhm.
a lot of the growing up. So he was just like, that when he said to me, he was like, "Yeah, man, when I get to be with my kids, I'm with my kids." That's why sometimes people want to ask him for pictures with his family. He gets a little sensitive because that's like he don't get to spend that kind of time with them.
Yeah.
And people got to understand that.
Yeah. Okay. I have more questions for you. How do you handle rejection throughout your career? Because everybody that is an actor or actress has
Hmm.
not gotten a part for something.
Hmm.
So to
Yeah.
those new rising stars that are coming out and they're auditioning, what advice can you give to handle rejection?
Um. Okay. So I got two pieces of advice. Have you ever asked somebody out on a date? You ever had a guy you liked? Maybe he had nice, rich melanin skin. He didn't have a receding hairline. Maybe his breath smelled like peppermint. You ever asked a guy like that out? You ever had a crush?
Yes, I've had a crush.
You did. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you asked him out, and what did he say?
he said yes.
Okay, well you're different. You're Butterby. Everybody say yes to you. Who can say no to you? All right, stop it. Stop it. You stop it. But that wasn't my experience. There was a girl I liked, and I thought she was cute. I asked her out. She was like, no, in front of everybody. That's rejection. And it was
Yeah.
bad because all her friends were there. And like, whenever you go up to a girl and you try to like talk to her and her girls are there, I don't know what it is about women. Sometimes or men, because we do the same thing. They amp themselves up. Oh, you think you cute? And we coming over here. She broke me down. She went from my head to my toe, and why she told me no.
Oh wow.
That's rejection. Yeah, that's rejection. That's rejection for you. So you you get, not that I got used to it, but you learn how to deal with rejection. There's nothing in life that'll happen that's that bad or embarrassing. So the difference with the acting though is that kind of rejection prepares you for the acting rejection because at least that no one's like going from head to toe why they're not picking you. But in terms of like acting, it helps you refine your technique. You don't get better at anything by always winning. Do you know what I mean? Like basketball players, they don't hit every shot. Maybe they go, I don't know, 7 for 15, and the next game they go 8 for 9. But you get better by missing. I know it sounds crazy to say that because we all want to hit all the major roles and parts, but just like with comedy, you're acting. You got to develop your signature acting style, and you don't do that by getting every shot, every audition. You got to refine your technique. You got to get better. So it takes practice. It takes rehearsal. It takes class time. The one person I can compare it to would be Sam Jackson. Every movie Sam Jackson's in, it's in because he has a specific way he delivers the lines. He has a way he is and he carries himself. Denzel Washington is another one. Is a perfect example of someone who he has a way that he acts that's specific to him. Mm-hmm. Ryan Reynolds, another person. He has an acting style. Every movie he's in is kind of sarcastic, whether it's serious or it's a romantic comedy. It's a style. So you develop your style and then you put that out there into the world. And if it doesn't come back to you, it's fine. Just keep working at it. That's it. Don't give up. Don't walk away, because you're going to get at least 500 no's before you get that one yes. And I got a bunch of no's before I got Power. And even now, I still get no's. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good because you know what? I'm here for a reason. God wouldn't put me in the situation that I'm in right now if he didn't think I could handle it. Because let me tell you, I was making good money at that job at Enterprise. But guess what? I wasn't fulfilled. I was miserable every day driving to that job. Hated it. And if any of my old coworkers are watching, get out. Run for your life. You can get free. You don't have to be a prisoner. I'm just kidding. Don't quit your job without a plan. Sorry. Let me not. I had a plan. But that's that's my advice to all of you out there, man. Keep going. Don't let one no. I mean, it's just a no. It's not the end of the world. It just means not right now.
I like that. So what are you doing right now? What projects are you working on or have coming up?
Well, thank God the strike is over, so we can kind of get back to auditioning. I'll be honest with you. There haven't been as many auditions. Things are still, the industry is still kind of trying to recover from the WGA strike and the SAG-AFTRA strike. So I have been auditioning, but it hasn't been as many as it normally is. So I've been focusing on my podcast that I've been working on. With a fellow comedian of mine. His name is Phil Hunt. Shout out to Phil Hunt. We do it every week. It's called I Don't Know Though. It's a comedy podcast. Basically, we look at pop culture and things that are going on in TV and sports, and we just make fun of stuff. And we also give advice to people. These people send in real questions, and we answer them, kind of like Dear Abby, but like jokes. It's all jokes. It's never anything like you would want to take home and tell you, girl, let me tell you what I heard on this podcast about advice we should get. It's terrible advice, but it's funny. So, and I've been working on that, and I've also been working on my own stand-up, working on my half hour. I'm putting together a half hour special I want to do here in Brooklyn and tape it, and I'm putting that together right now. So it's a busy time.
That's awesome.
And one other thing I forgot to mention, shout out, one other thing I've been working on, shout out to my new daughter. She was born on January 22nd, Aaliyah Simone, and that has been another job as a West Indian. If I don't have 7, I'm not doing something right. So this is the 7th job. So I got my son and my daughter. It's another job. Yeah. She walked in 1 month old.
Yeah, congratulations.
This is what no sleep looks like. Mm-hmm. I'm not even sure if I'm awake right. Am I awake right now, Butter?
You are awake. Sure? Yeah. Well, congratulations. That is some awesome news and everything. And I definitely make sure you send me the podcast information so that I can put that in the feed and everything so people can check it out, because I want to check that out. I believe that's absolutely hilarious. Yeah. We do it on YouTube. We're in between our seasons right now. We're gearing up for the 3rd season, but we have a lot of content on YouTube, and it's available wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, iTunes, all of that. YouTube Music. So we're on all those platforms. So please go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Definitely. Well, I would like to thank you so much for being a part of Transparency Talks podcast. I found out a lot of great things about yourself, and you dropped some gems to the audience and everything. So I appreciate you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and also just like to remind people that my name is Avery Mason, and I love gravy. So if you want to send me like a jar of it to put on some rice, I mean oxtail gravy, any kind of gravy. I mean, I love it. I know you in Atlanta can cook, so but if you want to send me some gravy, I would.
Good.
You know, you don't cook. That's
My
right. You got a lot of jobs. She's like, cooking ain't one of those jobs. I'm just gonna,
my husband cooks. He's a chef.
gonna do a screenplay. We can talk. Camera work, directing. She's like, I can't add that. I'm with you. I feel you. I feel you. She's like,
All right. Well, with that, everybody, we are out of here, and we're gonna talk to you guys later. Peace out, y'all.